Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Welcome to our kitchen table. So if you listened to our last podcast, Jim was giving me crap about the fact that I'm redoing our podcast room and
Again.
And so I'm in the process of doing that, and we got ready to do our podcast tonight, and it wasn't really working out like we wanted it to. So I was like, hey, Jim, we're going to come sit at the kitchen table and have a cup of tea. Well, we started at the kitchen table and we weren't recording.
I know, but it was still...
As in we were recording our audio and we weren't recording video. And for some reason, people like seeing me abuse you in like real time.
We've come full circle.
Yeah.
Back to the kitchen table.
Back to the kitchen table, but not for long. I just have to repaint the room, buy a bunch of furniture, get the carpeting put down. Add on some space.
Moving on.
So we are actually not going to talk a lot about education tonight. We're going to talk about, last time we talked about brain rot and educational slop, AI slop.
AI slop's become a word.
Okay, AI slop has become a word. And we listen to a podcast often called the AI Daily Brief. Love the podcast. And one of the podcasts he did recently was talking about work slop.
That's why it caught my attention.
So it did catch our attention. I listened to it on the way to Liberty Hill the other day. So let's talk about work slop. The first thing, I'm going to let you do most of the talking because you told me before. Okay, wipe the look off your face.
I did not say
that's
a word.
Not necessary.
Say a word.
I'm going to let you do a lot of the talking because you actually said when we were like, oh, we can't get this together. We're going to go ahead and wait until tomorrow to do this. You're like, nope, I am in a mood. And as soon as you said that you were in a mood, I was like, oh, let's go push some Jim buttons.
I'm tired of, and I know the reasons why people do it because they're trying to get clicks, but I'm tired of this self-righteous crap that I hear about AI slop and work slop and lazy people and young kids are lazy. It's just on and on and on. It's so negative and it's so self-righteous.
And it's so not new.
And that's the whole point, is it's not new. So I went out and collected some headlines, but we're going to step back in time a little bit and we're going to say all these people before large language models had the purest of intentions when they did fake stuff.
Before you go through the headlines, I just had a memory pop into my head, which, you know, at my age, that's kind of a cool thing to have these memories pop in.
Stop the presses.
Stop the presses. I worked the very first real job that I had. I was an office manager for a veterinarian clinic in the city in Austin. No names. Part of my job is that I had to keep all of the pencils in the drawer sharpened at all times with an eraser cap on them, and they had to face all the same direction. All of the pens had to face the opposite direction with the pen caps on them. No. Do you not think that wasn't busy work?
Well, yes and no. That guy was just weird, though.
But
it wasn't just busy work. It was him being
stuff like that happen. I mean,
obsessive, compulsive, anal retentive.
Well, it's just to me, it was busy work. So let's talk about
these headlines for a minute. So right now we're talking about slop stuff.
Okay.
CNET.com 2020, 5 years ago. Instagram influencer Natalia Taylor fakes Bali vacation with IKEA pics.
So she went to an IKEA and she took a bunch of pictures of herself in the IKEA, in different places, like where they have the displays and stuff that they have set up. Okay.
And pretended like she was in Bali. She left some IKEA price tags as Easter eggs for her observant followers. The stunt was supposed to teach people that you can't necessarily believe what you see online.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts are, wow, that would have irritated me.
Right.
I mean, to me, I agree with this idea of making people skeptical, but that just seems unethical to me. But I'm the only one that feels that way.
How many followers does she have?
Because she has 2 million followers on YouTube still.
Still?
But I would have unfollowed her immediately.
Well, to me, I wonder how long it was before she told you that it was a fake trip to Bali.
If I spent more than 5 minutes before she told me, which I guarantee you she did, because YouTube videos are longer than that, I would have stopped following her forever.
All right, next headline.
I consider that deceptive. We're going to go to 2019. George Mason.
Back in time.
BusinessInsider.com. A guy named George Mason, apparently he's a London-based YouTuber. He did something similar, except an 8-day European vacation.
Okay.
And once again, telling everyone he was worried how easy it was to fool people. Why, thank you for wasting my time just to teach me the lesson. He has 100,000 followers still, so apparently it doesn't matter. 2019 again, an Australian YouTube.com is where I got this from. Gabby Hannah faked a Coachella music festival, which I did not even know what that was. I had to look it
That
up.
probably was difficult.
Without ever leaving Los Angeles, she used photoshopped images and then made video revealing her deception. Wow.
Okay,
Again,
so
wasting my time.
I
3
taught
million
photography.
followers on Instagram.
She still has 3 million
3 million
followers.
followers.
Okay, so I taught a photography class as part of my makerspace, and one of the things I taught my kids, and we had a whole lesson on it, was how to take images and make them look completely different than what the images that you're taking.
And you can certainly argue that as a form of deception, but usually it's not so. You're not wasting a half an hour of my time creating a fake vacation that I'm watching. I saw what you did in your class, what the kids were doing,
Well,
and I don't feel like
it was also
you could use it. I guess you can use your powers for good or evil in that.
it was also a history lesson about some of the war images, the pennies in the trash cans and
Or the size of the moon.
yeah, some of those things. It was a history lesson, but it was also a really great lesson on perspective and how you can make something completely, even without Photoshop, without the tools that we now have, you still can make things deceptive.
You are teaching the kids to be skeptical by teaching the kids
how to do something.
These people were teaching people to be skeptical by faking things.
Right. Totally different.
I don't agree with it, but apparently I'm in the minority in that. It's an age thing, apparently. So let's jump forward a little bit. We're going to get some more because we want to move to our main story.
Mhm.
But September 23rd, 2025, Fortune.com, AI promised to revolutionize productivity. This is a long headline. Instead, work slop is a giant time suck and the scourge of the 21st century office. Stanford University warned. That's pretty dramatic.
That's very dramatic. That is clickbait right there.
Maybe those researchers should go try working in corporate America.
Maybe the researchers should go to the vet clinic and sharpen pencils that day.
Or I remember I was working for a electronics distributor. I was an apps engineer, and we were constantly doing reports. And the sole purpose of the report was I gave it to the branch manager, who then rolled it up to the district manager, who then rolled it up. And all this was guesses. They called them our predictions for our sales.
What exactly is it you do here?
In this case, I told my boss, apparently, good thing my boss had a sense of humor. Because I told my boss, and I know that movie.
Yeah, you know that movie.
Office Space is such a good movie. I told my boss, I said, dude, I'm tired of doing this. I'm just going to write some code. I'm going to have a fluff generator. And it's literally going to generate crap because all of these things are guesses. We have no idea. He goes, and we were even given parameters on what our guesses should be.
Should I not be appropriate here? Because in the old days, we used to call that pulling out of your.
Well, that's what I told him too, but I called it a fluff generator. I was trying to be polite, not pull it out your butt generator. But anyway, they called them stretch goals, aka crap we made up. But they gave us boundaries though. When you make your crap up, make sure it only fits within. It has to be above this line.
You had a box that you had to put your crap in.
Well,
they drew the box for you. They said,
pretty much. Mainly, what they were interested in. No, they really more interested in us make sure we're above a line.
Oh, got it.
They didn't care if we were too high. What they cared about is don't be too low because then it looks bad when we roll it up.
Right, got it.
So the discussions you and I have been having about this stuff and the fact that this stuff is annoying me I can't see what our dog is doing.
The dogs are fine. They're laying over here.
So I was listening to this podcast and it really clicked. But the first thing that I kind of wanted to define, because we've mentioned the word like several times, work slop.
What is work slop?
How would you define work slop? I got it here for you if you want to. Does that sound like a good definition?
It actually does look like a really good
okay. So how does he define it?
It's AI generated output that looks polished, like memos and reports and emails and so forth and so on, but it lacks real substance or value.
I love this next part of I want you to read this next part
it's
of the
the
definition.
equivalent of fancy fluff.
Fluff generator.
And you said you were going to create that.
And
there you go.
Except this is blamed on AI.
It passes the superficial glance.
At the risk of people noticing that I'm a little bit older.
You are a little bit older.
I'm a little bit older.
Seasoned.
That was 30 years ago.
And you were talking about a fluff generator?
When I was talking about making a fluff generator. That was a little before AI had large language models, just a wee bit. And I even used the same term. Yeah. So when we talk about what the thing that that was talked about over and over again, which I kind of skipped over because we're going to talk about it so much. But a lot of this stuff comes from this very poorly done MIT study, if you want to call it that.
52 people in the study.
The Gen AI Divide, State of AI Business in 2025. The most quoted part of that study is Gen AI Divide is starkest in deployment rates. Only 5% of custom enterprise AI tools reach production. So basically what he was saying is AI is a waste of time because you can barely get it into production. And when you get it there, it's going to generate crap. And people are going to want to use it to generate crap. And that's the problem. Except the study was a little weak, to say the least.
How many executives?
52 whole executives, and they used public earnings reports, not any kind of clean data.
Okay.
And they basically estimated, if you're a company this size, this is my understanding, if you're a company this size, then you're probably doing this many AI projects. If they didn't mention that they were doing an AI project, then they assumed they had failures.
Oh, wow.
That was my understanding of it.
Okay.
That's ridiculous. But it's quoted everywhere.
And because it was an MIT thing, I think that's
a good way
why
to lose credibility.
It really is. It really is.
It's sort of like making up a trip to Bali.
If you really dig into the report, you're going to see that it was very poorly done, and it should not be.
Well, it was so obviously focused on proving a point that they already believed was true, which is the exact opposite of studies. So we know what Slop is. Stanford, according to
another
our podcaster guy,
university,
they did a better job.
Okay.
And they surveyed 1,150 U.S. desk workers who said 40% of them said they received work slop recently.
I like how they actually surveyed the desk workers and not the executives.
Yeah, I noticed that. You know what else is funny about that? If you would have interviewed 40%, 1,150 desk workers 30 years ago,
you would have got the same
and
answers.
asked them, how much time do they spend on work slop that's completely useless? In this case, defined as data that's completely useless, like they did. We all did. We all knew it. It was busy work. It was like sharpening pencils. You mentioned earlier. It was busy work. Or to quote Office Space, which apparently is going to be the mantra for the future. But what exactly is it that you do?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, if you would have asked me that, again, it's bad. It's bad to put. It's why engineers aren't generally successful. Probably as business people, we keep getting. It's usually the other people that get promoted all the way up to these high executive levels, because most engineers look at it and go, "Why would I do that? It's completely useless."
Right.
And apparently,
I used to tell you when you're in the private sector, I'm like, Jim, you're not kissing enough bahooties. I mean, you didn't play the politics.
I really didn't. That's why I work for a school district and have money. Anyway, so I love this. AI slop versus human slop. Verbosity, vagueness, repetition, and incoherence. Traits not unique to machines, but humans do them too. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So basically, you know what I think the AI has done better? I think it's done a good job of, though. It's made it have better grammar.
Yeah.
Because my grammar has never been fantastic.
Right. I'm always looking at your stuff for
So
grammar.
my work slop had a lot of grammar mistakes. It wouldn't now. I could generate all that same stuff that I did.
Same
faster,
slop, better spelling.
Better spelling.
Same slop, better spelling. I think
slop,
that's a
better
t-shirt.
spelling.
I have one already. Control, Alt, Believe. That's what I'm doing.
Have belief.
And now I have a second one. AI slop. I've already forgotten.
You forgot it.
I already forgot it. Work slop, better grammar.
It was actually better spelling.
Well, grammar's fine.
Okay. You can put that on a t-shirt.
I gotta write that down somewhere.
No, you don't. You just watch the video.
Okay, I'll watch the video.
So he talked a lot. I mean, this thing's very long, and I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing and talk about it, but he talks a lot about how you need to look at this differently. In other words, you need to shift your incentives.
As in, a company needs to shift.
Companies need to shift their incentives. And one of the things that I thought was cool was they actually had an education reference in here, which I thought you would like, so I kept it in my notes. A teacher says, don't use AI for this assignment. Student replies, if AI can do it, then it's just busy work.
I always talk about it. It's the process, not the product.
Boss tells employee to use AI for a meaningless report. It is the same thing.
It is.
Now, again, in all fairness, it is different teaching someone and trying to figure out how to teach them than your boss setting clear guidelines. The boss should know. What I used to tell the kids, if your job, and of course I wasn't completely right on this, I wasn't right at all actually, but if your job, if you can't draw a line between what you do every day and how the company makes business, I mean, how the company makes money
Right.
in
Well,
business,
stays in business,
how they
basically.
make money, then your job is susceptible to being cut.
That's not
Except,
true. It's
well,
not true.
it's not true because
If
it's
you
really not
cannot
about
draw a direct line from your job and who you play
part-
golf with,
who you socialize with.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not what you know, it's who you know.
I know. Again, back to why I'm not wealthy, because I had one company offer to teach me how to play golf. They offered to pay for golf lessons
Just so they could get you out talking.
on the golf. Why would you want to put me out on the golf course?
I haven't. That's really a
I'm
good
glad
question.
I didn't tell you they were trying to pay me for that, because you would not have let me walk away from those
No,
lessons.
maybe not.
No, you wouldn't have. You'd have been like, dude, you're going to learn to play golf. I just,
And here we are, living in the middle of a golf course.
and we don't
Live
play
in the
golf.
middle of the golf course, and we don't
play
even have a
golf.
club. I don't even own a golf
I
club.
know. The clubs we had here, Jared took with him. So there's some level, he talks about how the organization itself is responsible for making this work. And the way I see that is what he talked about earlier. I have had so many managers, and I've had exceptions, but I can count them on one hand with fingers left over. I have had managers who are very good at defining what we do.
Right. They have a vision, and they know where they want the company to go.
They know, well, they may not get to set out the company goes, but they do know very clearly what needs to be done for their department to look good or for them to make money. I've had two managers that
You do have fingers left over.
I have several fingers left over. One of them was Steve Mansfield.
Yes.
He was one of the best managers I ever had. And then one was Fred Masudian when I worked at Dell. And for a big company, I got to say it, I can't say they do it now, but back when I was working for Dell, they had really good processes for making sure we weren't doing busy work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did not do busy work very much. And for such a big company, that's a big deal.
That's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot. But a lot of that was because of Fred, which is why I left Dell when Fred did. But anyway, so companies, if they're going to adopt these tools, they're going to have to do a better job of articulating what it is these tools are for. And he talks one of the things he mentions in his podcast that really caught my attention was how apathy sets in if you know your job is busy work. What have we done to the younger generation?
They don't want to go to school.
They don't want to do anything because what we've done because of social media and online and how people act, how parents act nowadays with their kids, buddies instead of parents, all that stuff has led kids to be very cynical. And a cynical person will spot their BS detector is going to be finely tuned.
Yeah.
And so what you get is everybody's slamming on the Gen Zs, the Gen Xs, not Gen Xs, that's us. The Gen Zs, the Gen As, I get them mixed up.
Occasionally.
Gen Xs get slammed on all the time. They're slamming on them because they don't want to go to the office 5 days a week. Yeah. They say, why should I have to go to the office 5 days a week? Well, you know what? We knew that back then. What did I try to? One of my jobs I applied for, I told them because we were living fairly far away from it. I wanted the job because it was a tablet company. And I said, I do not want to come in 5 days a week. I want to work remote too. Mm-hmm. They said, we'll let you work one. I said, no. I turned down the job.
And that was 20 years ago.
That was longer than 20 years
25 years ago.
At least 25. I knew back then that
you could get more done in your office at home without getting distracted constantly by people walking over and talking to you and getting you to do this and getting you to do that.
I knew. Let's use you as a reference here. You took a job once because you were told that the person that had the job needed help.
Oh, I was hired specifically to help that person.
Soon you did the person's job and they got laid off, which you felt terrible about.
Yeah, I did.
And then by the time you were done there, the job was half time and you worked remote. Yeah. Because you could do the job because you eliminated all the things that were irrelevant and only focused on the things that, because it was a small company, you knew exactly how the company made money.
Right.
And so you focused on that. So again,
sometimes you don't have to fill everything out in triplicate.
Or sometimes you don't have to fill it out at all.
At all.
Because it's useless. Or sometimes whatever you think has to happen today really could just wait till tomorrow. So what are some of the organizational fixes that he recommends? And we've already talked about some of it. Reward outcomes, not activity. We were just talking about that, and we've known this for many, 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 many years. Eliminate fake work. That's what we're talking about with his.
You're gonna have to tell me though, who defines fake work?
Well, in the world, the way the world should work is the person who's getting paid the most,
Gets
like
to define
the
it.
CEO at the top, for example, they ought to know the company well enough. So used to CEOs came up from the bottom.
Right.
So they knew the company from
They
top
weren't
to bottom.
hired from
They weren't hired
outside.
through the good old boy buddy network. They from the outside. They were hired because they came up through the ranks.
Yeah.
So they knew how the company made money. They knew where things needed to be improved. They knew what. So those people defined the tasks that needed to be done well because they knew what needed to be done.
Right.
But if you just drop into your $60 million a year job from a company that had nothing to do with what you're doing, I don't think you can clearly define anybody's goal. And it's got to start at the top. What's a good example? Back in the 90s, they pushed Steve Jobs out. They brought in a guy who ran Pepsi.
Okay.
What does that guy have to do? They're making Macs. Well, guess what?
Didn't take long.
Didn't take long before that company, he was gone, got pushed out, hired another guy who was a finance guy. He got pushed out. They brought Steve Jobs back, and they're still, even after Steve Jobs has been dead for years, they're still one of the richest companies in the world because he had a vision. He defined what needed to be done. He hated BS. I mean, it has to come from the top. And eliminating fake work to me is the same thing.
Has to come from the top.
Again, align leadership and teams has to come from. This is not new. It's just not being done. And so, what is your favorite saying?
Thank you, AI.
For having the conversation that we
Should
should have been having in the first place.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you're a Gen Z or one of these people and you're saying, I don't need to go in the office 5 days a week, I can get the work you need done from home, I don't even need to do it full time. There's a downside to that.
Not get paid
Because
as much.
Not only you probably not get paid as much, but if I'm your boss, I go, you're right. So I really only need you 3 days a week. So I'm just going to hire you as a contractor. It's just going to be gig work.
Yeah.
Like driving an Uber.
Yeah.
I'm going to hire you for the exact work. Since I'm now good at defining what needs to be done, then I can outsource it to whoever I want to.
That's what's happened to our son-in-law. He basically did such a good job and doesn't have to put as many hours in. And he's always been a 1099 or he's always been a contract worker. And a lot of companies are doing this because of healthcare and benefits.
They don't want to pay the benefits.
They don't want to pay. They don't want to match the Social Security or do anything like that. So.
Yeah, AKA Walmart, has more people on. I heard they have more people on government benefits than any other company. Now, of course, it could be that they have 2 million employees.
They are holding, and this is a headline that just came out about artificial intelligence. Walmart saying that they're freezing at 1.2 million employees, waiting for the retraining to happen because of the efficiencies they're putting in because of AI.
Didn't a company just say recently, like Lucent or something, that they're telling all 11,000 workers that if you don't get trained on AI, then you're going to get fired.
And then I mentioned it in a meeting I was in and got an eye roll.
Well, that was an education thing. You have you got an eye roll because you mentioned how we need to start getting kids credentials with AI. And somebody's sitting there eye roll because they know better, obviously, than the hundreds of billions of dollars that's getting spent, because that's all just fake money, I guess.
Fake money.
But I can tell you that I think that AI is getting villainized by people who want it's clickbait mostly, but it's getting villainized. But I think it's exposing inefficiencies, like you said. Thank you, AI, because we're having a conversation we should have had 30 years ago. Holding up a mirror. I think one of the problems that when we talk about starting from the top, though, and maybe there is a lot of AI projects that are failing, and I can tell you based on the fact that I've spent the last 3 years integrating large language models into education in the best ways that I can figure out, that the integration stuff is hard. And part of the reason it's hard is because of the existing systems you have. But I can tell you that leaders that don't understand it, they're going to be the reason why that projects fail, and they're going to be the reasons why unrealistic expectations are going to be set. Like there's already been companies who said, I'm going to lay off people because AI can do the work, when they should have known better. AI should be doing things, it should be making things better. There's one headline that I saw when I was researching this about a lady that's is a creator. She lives in London or somewhere. She's a creator, and she was having a hard time getting work because everybody was saying they'll just use AI to do it. Well, now she's being hired and busier than she was before. You know what she's doing? Fixing the AI stuff that they generated.
She's like editing it so it looks okay.
But you know what? That's really it sounds dumb, but it's not.
Brilliant.
Because what is it that you found? You learned vibe coding, right?
Mhm.
By beating on the table.
Mhm.
You learned vibe coding, right?
Mhm.
Well, one of the reasons that you liked it wasn't because you wanted to just code something up on the website and throw it in live.
Oh,
It's because you wanted to prototype it. You wanted to play with it. You wanted to make changes, and you didn't want to learn how to write HTML.
well, I have done a lot of websites. We've had several websites. My Simply Maury K was a website, still is, with all my recipes and stuff. I've gotten paid by other people to do websites.
Because you're a creator.
And a lot of the websites that I do, I really want more control over what I want it to look like and not just have to go modify
Which means you have to
something that's already there, which means I have to write.
But you don't want to learn to write code. Not really.
I know enough to look at it and go, that's where that button is located, or that's where that form is located.
And what you're using there is it's again, that's not a new thing. It's rapid prototyping.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is rapid prototyping tools have been awful for a long time. They're getting better, but they're really good. Like Figma is really good at doing certain things, but you could generate really good stuff with Figma to make it, because Rachel used it. You can make it look really good, but it was hard to get that into production.
Right.
But now Figma is including AI tools. I heard it's fantastic. I want to try it, to where now they can help you go all the way to production. It reminds me of that tool you were teaching the kids to use. That was not our kids, but when you had your makerspace.
Right, Scratch.
Well, you used that. It wasn't
Tinker.
Scratch. It was Tinker.
Tinker.
And what you liked about Tinker was it allowed you to model it, put it all together using graphical tools. But then when you wanted to modify the actual code,
I made them go to just the code.
It would show you the code block, which in this case was Python, I think, in the background. So they could click on a block and see the code that made up the block and edit it, make the block do something different.
Right.
That's, I think, where AI stands out. So back to this lady I'm talking about. The thing that caught my attention the most was she said, I'm making more money now than I made before the language models took away my business. These people are basically prototyping what they want something to look like. Because I don't know if you've ever worked, you being on the creative side of drawing and stuff, you've worked with people trying to figure out what they want. And it's really hard because they can't visualize it. But if you can sit there and code something up real quick, rapid prototype it with using an AI tool, and then tweak it on the fly, that's very powerful. And so what if at the end she ends up making some modifications and gets paid for it? I think that's worth paying her for.
I agree.
If there's a little mix up in the text, because you know if you try to regenerate it with AI, it's not going to look exactly the same.
It's going to mess it up.
It's going to mess something else up. But you get it really close, and even if she redoes the whole thing, now she's got a model to work from.
Right.
That's a good model.
Right,
it's a great way to make money.
Yeah. So, all right. We only have a few minutes left, so let's talk about, again, we're talking about work slop. What is the point of this conversation? If we had to tell the people who do listen to us, the one or two people out in the middle of nowhere,
right?
What is the purpose of this conversation?
The purpose of this conversation is I am sick of people self-righteously villainizing something that's nothing other than a tool. And I'm also sick and tired of people that are in administrative or leadership positions that are supposed to be learning what's new, including in education, saying, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to do it badly enough, and then expecting the people underneath them to fix it.
Figure it out.
What work slop is not new.
No.
It's busy work.
Right.
Now I can generate busy work with an AI much faster than I could before, and everybody's crying about it.
Well,
guess what?
I mean, a lot of people are afraid to become more efficient because we used to always say, if you want something done in a company, who do you go to?
The busiest person.
The busiest person there is. So if I generate work slop through AI and I'm having to do all this stuff and having to also become more efficient because I'm using AI to do my job, then all of a sudden my boss is giving me more stuff to do.
But guess what? When you're still going to max out just like you did before.
Yeah.
But now maybe you're going to max out doing things that are actually making the company money.
Wow, let's go from efficiency AI to opportunity
AI.
AI.
Again, leads right to that.
Yeah.
And when one of the things that this guy was talking about was some of the mitigation that a company um, problem AI output is polished but wrong,
Mhm.
misleading. I've seen that. Have human review. There's those humans
What
that
a
got jobs
great
now.
idea.
Use AI to generate drafts and take them at face value. That's a bad idea. Trained prompt literacy, emphasize learning skills. That sounds like an educational
Yeah,
problem,
it
doesn't it?
does. Mhm.
Workforce training, overemphasize on volume metrics. Stop worrying about volume, worry about value. Does that sound new to you? Not
No.
really. Should have had that conversation. Multiple revisions, looping AI. We called it analysis paralysis 40 years ago.
You get there all the time.
Yes,
Still.
I get there. That's you usually come in there and it's like a bicycle wheel that's turning really fast,
Yeah.
and you shove a broom handle in it, and all of a sudden I'm flying off the bicycle. That's you. That's how you derail mine.
Yeah.
Accountability, assign an owner for generated deliverables. Well, that sounds like a new job description.
Making sure the stuff going to the
Making
top
sure-
is.
Again, that's why you don't get rid of your software
Make sure it's
engineers.
only the cream that's rising to the top of the AI
Because we know what
slop.
else floats. So when you assign an owner to, again, stop talking about getting rid of software developers and just assign them the task of owning the output.
That the company that I am signing a partnership with, that's what they're doing for plagiarism. They're having the students
Collaborative instead
have
of,
to have ownership and take ownership and get that ownership score up when they're
Because
utilizing
they're
the AI
teaching-
tool.
they're teaching it to be a collaborative.
Yes.
Their tool is a collaborative tool, not a policing tool.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
nothing. The thing that just that annoys me yet amuses me about this whole conversation is there's not a single thing in it that's not.
It's nothing is new.
It's nothing new. Work slop is not new. It's just got
No.
a new tool to do it
No.
with. You talk about this all the time.
Mhm.
AI is just putting a spotlight on things that should have been looked at a long time
Right.
ago. Think about a company who adopts opportunity instead of efficiency.
Yes.
Now they use the AI. They're just like that lady who said that she now has more work than she had before.
Right. She
When
used it as an opportunity.
We talked about this a lot.
It
One of our
wasn't the
last-
woe is me. AI took my job. She went and found an opportunity to make more money.
And we've talked about this before, about how the music industry was all crying because the World Wide Web
Right.
and music sharing ruined their business. And
Right.
now the music industry is bigger now
Than it was.
than it was. The only downside to it was that it consolidated. And that's what worries me about AI. Not whether or not it's going to stay around or whether or not it's going to take some people's jobs and add others. It's the consolidation that worries me.
Mhm.
We talk about this a lot. Learn how to do some of this stuff yourself. Teach the kids to be skeptical by showing them how the tools work, not by
And how they don't work.
not by playing tricks on them.
Right.
Show
Right.
them how it works. Let them learn how to use the tools. Let them learn to build on their own. So that way, Google, Microsoft, Apple, those guys don't own it.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, it's going to do exactly the same thing as before, which seems to be inevitable. Is all of this knowledge is going to consolidate into a few companies.
I was on a call today. I'm part of the human intelligence movement, and I was in a breakout room today. And one of the things we were talking about is why is it that we're still having the same conversations that we had 20 years ago, and no one's learning a damn thing?
Amen to that.
So my name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband Jim. Welcome to the kitchen table tonight. Thank y'all for joining us. We hope you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.